Welcome everybody, I'm Ogden City Mayor Ben Nadolski, and you're at the Ogden Way podcast, a place where we talk about Ogden stories by telling the stories of Ogden's people. And today, we're with my friend, Aldin Falcon, owner, proprietor, and hustler at the Ogden Barber Company right here on Washington Boulevard, across the street from the junction. And we're gonna have a conversation about men, the kinds of conversations that men have when they go to the barber, the kind of bonds that we build when we get to know each other. Aldin, I appreciate you doing this, man. This is our first time doing it remote like this. Hope it works out.
Yeah, no, thank you for this opportunity. And I think it's I've been thinking a lot about it to be able to have this opportunity to share my experiences and thoughts along with everyone else's that's already shared yours on the podcast. And it's super inspiring. So thank you.
Happy to do it, man. I've always appreciated our friendship. It's kind of funny. I'm sitting here in the chair looking outside and I see a city crew out there working on sewer system. But I'll just forget the day I was standing out there. I was brand new mayor. Like all my kind of habits changed because where I'm working changed, right? And so all the little things I kind of had to find new places to get a haircut because I used to get my haircut over by where I used to work, right? And I was standing out there on the phone and I looked inside, and you and Justice over here, we're both in here, and I just walked in and said, "You got an opening?" And you're like, "Sure, come on in."
Yeah, no, that was the fateful day that it all came down.
That was the day, but that's kind of the day that I first got to know you, but then over time I got to know you really well just from having conversations in the chair. And I don't know, I like to have a guy for everything. Yeah. I'm one of those guys, but I like to be loyal, and especially loyal to a small business owner here in Ogden. So appreciate you being my guy.
No, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Yeah, it was super unique for me as well because, some of those first times, you think, oh my gosh, it's Ogden Mayor. So you kind of have a little bit of that sense of, I really got to deliver. But I just found myself getting lost in the conversation that we had and just found how true and honest you were, and just so approachable, which I think made me just feel more welcome, I guess if you say, to the city, because I think at the time I was only open for less than a year too, so it was kind of a cool thing that we got to share.
Yeah, I remember the place wasn't, you were still kind of doing some work, and you were cutting hair all day, and then you were like painting and building and doing construction at night. Remember?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Which I think looking back at it now that we've been almost going through about a year and a half now, I'm so glad I did that because it's taught me so many different things about the process of becoming a small business owner, but also just becoming a better man in the end, because with some of those acquired skills, it's helped me to be able to share some of that with other clients when they're like doing a little bit of towel work. I'll be like, hey, I did a little bit of it. Kind of understand a little bit better now. So
I know that's kind of what's cool about the barbershop, at least from a man's perspective, that I come in here, I get to talk to other men, and I don't know, you always impart, you're one of those guys that's kind of wise beyond his years. Did you know that?
Some people say it. It's hard to believe sometimes, but yes, I try my best.
I think you do have wisdom that's beyond the years that you've lived on this earth, and I always feel like I come away from get my haircut feeling better. You kind of fill my spirit, fill my soul, and then I go out and about in my day.
Good. I'm glad. I mean, when I first created this, my idea behind it was for everyone to leave with that experience. Like you said, you leave your day, you leave here with a better perspective on life. And I think it's very necessary in today's day and age to have a place where men can go and be able to at least talk about their feelings in an open environment with someone else, and be able to get some different insights, especially with how busy life can get. Sometimes we don't get those opportunities, whether we be at work or we come home and we don't want to dump all that stress that we have on our families. And so some men will just kind of hold that in. So to be able to have a place like the barbershop to allow for guys to just come in on a very casual note and, share some things or be able to experience something different, help them escape from what their day-to-day is about. I think it's unique to the community, it's unique to us and to myself to be able to be there for others.
Yeah, it's important that men have other men in their lives, right?
Yeah.
So I guess when I'm coming here, I'm not just coming here to fill my soul. I'm coming here to be a better man.
Yeah.
I don't know about that whole talking about my feelings thing, though. Yeah. I'll be honest. Just kidding.
Hey, we have to. You know, I mean, that's honestly how we kind of connected. That's why I felt the connection with you. I mean, I almost like treat this as a first date when I'm cutting somebody new. You know, I want the person to leave just as much, or I want them to understand and know a little bit about me as much as I know and understand about them. And I think in order to do that, sometimes you have to open yourself up a little bit, share a little bit of emotion, share a little bit of that connection to be able to build that relationship, right?
You trying to soften me up, Alden?
Trying. It's hard.
I don't know, man. I actually think that men share their, quote, feelings kind of different than people probably realize.
Yeah.
We're pretty casual about it, or kind of sometimes we share our feelings frankly, just by talking shit to each other, right? With
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just sort of chewing the fat, and I don't know. Some days I come in and I feel like I'm just sort of taking a break from the day.
Yeah.
Some days I come in and I feel like I'm sharing my day. Or some days I come in and I feel like I'm sharing your day, right?
Yeah. Yeah, not every conversation is always the same one, which I think it's just like life, right? Life has ebbs and flows, so we kind of just adjust the conversation to whatever the person's feeling. So yeah, absolutely.
So speaking of talking crap, how's your golf game? Still suck? You still suck?
Still triple putt.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
So it's cool because I actually just went on a golf trip this weekend with some friends for my friend's bachelor party. And oh boy, golf is like life. You have the highest expectation, hole one, and then you duff it and you're like, all right, here we go.
Ooh, that's a pretty good analogy.
You just gotta adjust. It's a mental game, you know?
I mean, you can usually count on me for one good shot per hole. But that one good shot is worth every terrible shot.
Yeah.
And you know that feeling you get
Yeah.
when it all come together?
Oh, absolutely. You're on the green.
Guess that is kind of like life. You got all the failure, and then you finally break free.
Yeah.
And then you fail, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, we had a guy that was in the group that he was brand new to it, and we were just telling him, like, all it's going to take is one shot for you to get hooked on this. And sure enough, you can almost see the moment when they connect with it, and boom, everyone's like, bro, that was sick. That was good. And sure enough, you just see in his face, he's like, oh, I like this.
Right.
Yeah. Same thing with life. You know, we just go from moment to moment, and some of the moments that stand out the most are either the ones that we really shank it to the left, or we just bomb that drive.
That reminds me, reminds me of a story about my daughter, Millie. She's our 14-year-old. You know Millie.
Yeah.
I think it was like pre-pandemic, or it might have been during the pandemic, but we built her a bike ramp. She really wanted to learn how to do a bike jump. And so she would go all the way up the block, come down, get as much speed as she could, and then try and get air on her bike. She was really young, so that was quite a feat for her at the time, but she did it, I bet 100 times. Fail, and she just kept going, kept on grinding. And that was the first time I knew that she had kind of it.
Yeah.
But I remember when she finally did it and she got her back tire off the ground, because she like just went all in, and she was so happy that she cried. She must have been 8 years old, and that was the feeling of her putting in the work, her failing and trying again and never losing faith in herself, right? Tiny example, but at such a young age, to finally break free and feel success, it feels good, right? Just like it feels good to get that shot. Just like I bet it feels good to have steady clientele and to see your business kind of taking off, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a couple of weeks back, I was just kind of sitting here. I was listening to a podcast. And I was talking about something similar to that, you know, like how, you know, it's almost like that first time you eat like a really sweet candy bar where it kind of forgets, you know, the struggle where you might have of what it costs to buy that candy bar. But it was interesting because that morning I walked in, did my haircuts, and then there's this lady that walked in with her son, and she shared with us, she's like, this is so amazing, like, I love this is where I've been waiting for. And I was like, that is so crazy that or I would just like that if this wouldn't have happened, where would she have gone, or where would she be able to go to get that experience? So it's a unique thing for me to be able to, I don't know, have this dream, and now the dream's becoming a reality, and now here we are, and it's cool to see other people enjoy, you know, this dream that I had, and embrace it as well as much as I have.
Speaking of your dream, do you remember when you told me the story when you were on your mission and when you first started cutting hair?
Oh boy.
Can you tell that story again?
Which one is it?
Man, you were that was a pretty big risk you took when you were on your mission and you wanted to invite people to come get haircuts.
Yeah.
And you would win. How long you been training to cut hair at that point? Like
0
days?
0 days. Absolutely just getting after it. Yeah, so basically how that all started was we just had basically a call from our mission president saying that we needed to be better with the resources and the tools that we had. So we had Facebook at the time, and he wanted for us to, you know, use technology better. And I was a little bit old school, if you will, where I just love having the ability to just go out and just put my nose to the millstone and just go for it. Mm-hmm. So I remember my companion and I were just kind of sitting there talking about what we wanted to do with this, and we both just kind of said, like, you know, in order for us to, you know, see the blessings or see the miracles happen, we need to follow our leaders. And so I remember we were just kind of brainstorming what we could use with technology. And I was in Texas, and it's very heavily Hispanic. And so I just had this idea. I'm like, you know what? Free haircuts. And we just had this old, like, janky pair of Walmart clippers in our apartment. And I was like, everyone loves free. I'm like, think about it. We go get free haircuts, and we can go, you know, talk to people about it and serve them. And boy, oh boy, those poor kids and all those poor guys. But that's kind of where it all started. I think
got jacked up haircuts.
Yeah, we just realized the talk up was probably the best thing. We would just be telling these kids, like, you have a little girlfriend? They're like, no. And we're like, you do now. Just trying to get them all like over the moon about these things, you know?
Yeah.
And so it was super duper fun to just.
So obviously, you told me at the time, last time you told me that nobody was really mad at your haircuts.
Oh.
But it was because, I think it's because they felt like they got more than a haircut, right?
I'd hope so. But yeah, I would say so. I think, you know, some of the people that were cutting were already, like, were struggling a little bit in life. So I think having that extra encouragement through the haircut, I think, was the unique point of it all, you know?
Well, I think it speaks to the reason that I'm here and that I always come here.
Yeah.
It's loyalty to you. It's the experience that I have. I mean, now I get a good cut. Thanks for going to school and learning it, by the way.
Yeah.
But it goes to show that the power of returning is more than just the service and the quality of the cut. It's about the quality of the person that's doing it and the quality of the experience, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think where I am in my career, I think it's important. Like, I still try and continue to develop my skills as a barber by learning, but I've also kind of taken a step back in the sense of trying to learn more as a person. And I have a unique ability to have somebody new, you know, every hour by the hour. And it's fun to be able to pick people's brains on certain things. And I think at the end of the day, that's what makes me hopefully a better person, because similar to you, you know, my desire in life is to be the best husband and best father that I can be. And I've realized being a barber has helped me out so much, because I get so many different perspectives on how you might handle situation that I might not know yet. Yeah. You know, like all the things that you share with me about, you know, your relationship with your daughters to how you treat others. Like, those are things that I keep a mental note of, that when a situation arises, I can at least keep in mind, like, oh, you know, Ben did that. Let me try it out. See how that pans out for me.
Well, you shouldn't undervalue the fact that you do the same for me and for others. Yeah. So it goes both ways, right?
Yeah, I think both of us could really say that we're byproducts of everyone else's good doing, right?
100%. You know, just last night, I gave a talk at a church service.
Yeah.
And it was for my hometown, Ogden
Okay, yeah.
program, and the theme of the service was about service, right? But it was also about my hometown, and that our hometown is Ogden, and whether you were born here or not, like for me, I feel like Ogden raised me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So my parents gave me it's like fundamentals that I needed to have, like a foundation to build on. But when they sent me here to college, that's all I had anymore, right? I mean, they were still in my life, and I'm still close with them, but I kind of had to raise myself from there, and you're only as good as the environments you put yourself in, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I feel like Ogden raised me, and that's what really makes Ogden my town. My hometown is, I think I'm at a point in life now where Ogden's probably raised me more than my parents have, right?
Yeah.
Certainly more years
Yeah.
by far, but I don't know. But I think it's experiences like this and connections and relationships that we get that we take for granted. Like, hopefully people that are watching or listening to this are thinking, well, what relationships do I have with my barber or with this service provider or that? We have relationships every day, right?
Yeah.
Through these connections.
But yeah, somebody once shared with me that next time I ask somebody how they're doing to stop. I think so many times and what she meant was like, there's so many people will go through life and they'll be like, hey, how's it going? And just go on to the next, right? And I took a challenge just to kind of see. And it was funny because I was walking down here going to go get a crepe, and I just saw a random guy and I was like, hey, how's it going? And I just stopped, and he kind of was like, what? You know? But we just shared like a small little, like it was very awkward, I'm not going to lie. But who knows, right? I don't know what's going on in his life, but you just never quite know what that conversation or just that extra second to acknowledge another person, another human being, might do for his day or for his life. But it's like a chain effect. Hopefully that person now then went off and did something else for someone else.
Yep. It's amazing what you run into in Ogden just walking down the street. So
Yeah.
I think it was the last time I came in for a cut. So a few weeks ago,
Yes.
we were here. I walked from the municipal building, ran into a guy that was dressed like to the nines, and he was running to catch the BRT. And he hollered at me like across Washington. He's like, I like your style, or whatever he's talking about, the way I was dressed that day.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just trying to catch up with you, because that dude was the best dressed dude in town by far. And then I ran into Hiram from the chamber, and then he and I walked the whole way here. And then we got our cut here. I think that was the day that the guy from Provo, so you got a client that drives all the way from Provo every time he gets a haircut.
Yeah.
He comes here so that he can connect with you. And then we were talking about during my cut that your wife is friends with Luis Lopez's daughter.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then I left here and Luis was outside.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah.
So I brought him in. You met him for the first time.
Yeah.
That's like a big city, small town, right?
Absolutely.
Like America's smallest big city.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
But here's the cool thing about it reminds me so when I first started this, right, I had a sense or a desire to like get involved in the community. And once you, I think, make that, then the opportunities and the doors open, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like I told you, I wanted to meet Luis, and I wanted to get to know him. And I think that's what uniqueness about Ogden is. There's a lot going on, but there's still room for everyone, if that makes sense, And I think as I speak to a lot of people that live here in Ogden, I feel like we all have that desire. We all have that willingness to, get our hands dirty, if you will.
Yep.
But some of us just don't know where to begin, or where to start. And I think for me, I think that calling started when you came in, and even that one day where you polished my shoes, that showed me if the guy at the very top is leading by example and doing this for a common guy like me, what can I do to the next guy, right? And then I realized little by little, my desire to go and be more involved and help more people in the community just grows, right? So props to you for doing all that, I think great leaders bring out the best in people, and in your case, bring out the best in the community. And not only that, but give people like myself, I still say I'm somewhat young, give us an opportunity to at least, get involved and learn, hopefully
Yeah.
grow from it.
I think that's the thing that sets Ogden apart is we actually do the work.
Yeah.
We talk about it even within our city as an organization. We had our fire department banquet for awards banquet last week, and the thing that we're so proud of within our organization and what attracts firefighters to the Ogden Fire Department as an example is that they know how to do the work, and they actually do work, and they're really proud of it. They have a really blue collar mentality of rolling up our sleeves and doing the work, and they love it. We embrace the grind, we embrace the challenge here, right? And I think we have that more than any other town. But if you take that mentality and plug into the pick and shovel work of building community, there are countless opportunities here to serve, right? And that's the point of shiny shoes, is it's an act of service, right?
Yeah.
It's like the modern day example of Jesus washing the feet of his disciples, right? It's an act of service that I think gives us a moment to slow down and to connect, right? But the point being, we're here to serve each other.
I think, was it Josh on the podcast that shared that? And I just love what he said, that he's like, if you want to go far, go alone, or if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together or with more people. And it's true. I think with what Ogden has been able to do in the last few years has been pretty incredible, but you also see how much more I think the community has been involved in that process, which has brought the city together. It's clean, like it's way different. Like growing up, like I lived in Layton, then moved to Bountiful, and I heard a lot of stereotypes about Ogden, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And there was quite a bit of times that I spent in Ogden, but I didn't even know I was in Ogden, to be honest with you. Most of the time I was just traveling through to get up to the ski slopes. But then when I started, like going to school here and then, ended up living here now, it's not from what I remember. And it's kind of like a weird thing, like here's his past memories and then here's the actual future and present, the reality of things. I'm like, these two don't coincide. This is not what Ogden was made out to be when I was growing up. So,
which makes you wonder, is that a sign of how much we've leveled up as a community, or is it a sign of the stigma, right, versus the reality? So what you're saying is there's a stigma about Ogden, and that stigma drives us crazy. We know that we're better than what people think we are, and we're proud of that. And if people don't want to believe in us, that's fine, but we're going to believe in ourselves, and we believe in each other. And we have a chip on our shoulder about it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where our grit comes from.
And it shows. I mean, there's so much vibrancy to the city of Ogden. Like, no offense to Bountiful, but growing up there was just not a lot going on, to be honest with you. And, well, out here in Ogden, it feels like there's more going on, in the sense that I can step out and go find something to do, whether it be serving somebody or find some kind of entertainment, which I think shows, the growth that Ogden has had in so many different facets of it all.
Yeah. Yeah, no offense to Bountiful either. I do have the opportunity to talk with a lot of mayors and connect with a lot of mayors, though. And we do a lot of idea exchange, and we share experiences and ideas, policies, and so on. But it's fun to go and visit another city and learn from how they manage their issues and their programs and address challenges. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's easy to see what another city has and compare your city and to compare what you don't have, right?
Yeah.
It's a kind of human nature.
Yeah.
Where you judge yourself against others. And so you have to be really careful we don't do that for ourselves, but also as a city. But what they always tell me in response is that what they wish they had in their city was the kind of pride and the community vibrancy and the culture connection that we have here. Mm-hmm. That's what they want in their city. We have a sense of identity that other cities, not all cities, but many cities just don't have. Yeah. And I love hearing that, because that's not something that money can buy. right?
Absolutely.
It's something that we have that other cities don't have. And I think it's our special sauce or like our competitive advantage.
Yeah.
They might have more money, they might have more wealth, and right, but
Yeah.
but we have something they can't have,
Right.
and never will.
Yeah. So what do you do? I mean, if that's such a, I mean, that's a huge power, right?
Yeah.
So how do you drive that? How do you align that to, the goals of the city?
So I think the difference is, for me, when I started as mayor, I wanted to make sure that we weren't leveling up by replacing our people with other people that had already leveled up. I want to level up with our people.
Yeah.
I want to help Ogden people with Ogden values and Ogden grit, who have Ogden's history and culture, who feel this vibrancy and want to be a part of our culture and our connections. I want to level up with them.
Yeah.
Right. I want to do it for the kids that are born and raised here, and I think that's how we hold on to our identity, hold on to who we are, while making sure that we're stepping into our ultimate greatness. And you can't make a city or a community great without making its people great.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
And that's what makes a city, right?
That's
I mean,
right.
otherwise
Absolutely.
we just have empty buildings and nothing.
That's right. That's the difference between a city and a community.
That's cool. I like that.
But also, I think just building a city is one thing. You have a contractor, you got a construction crew, they build brick buildings, etc. But I think the most meaningful part is if we build it together, right?
Yeah.
Just like in that church service last night, the theme was service, and the lesson is that you build connection and you build a bond when you serve and work together. And so anything that we can do as a city that we can do alongside partners in our community, whether it's partners in the private sector or the nonprofit community or in the government sector, if we can do as many things alongside others, I know that the outcomes will be a lot better, but also be a lot more meaningful.
Yeah.
And there's going to be more pride in the outcome. And I think that the project will always be better and do better as a result, because that pride and the passion from the people is what carries it through, right? So the Marshall White Community Center, we're going to open that this month or next month. And that project was more than a construction project. That was a community pride project, right?
Yeah.
That builds on a long legacy of Marshall White, Officer White, Detective White, Dr. White. But it was a struggle too, in some ways. And it's been a struggle since for my staff to build. It's really takes a lot of attention and work. But I can tell you that people in the community and the team and my staff, they have a ton of pride in that project because it's been so hard, right? Because they know that they're working for something that matters a lot.
Yeah.
And that they want to make sure that the legacy of Marshall White is honored.
Yeah.
And so I'm just thinking of our public works team overseeing the construction, poring over every detail, while also having our recreation team going through all of the programming and preparing for how to run the facility, and having the software in place and having the personnel ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're so involved and engaged because it's a project of purpose and meaning, more than just building a building, right?
Yeah. But I think it's funny how, you say purpose, right? And somebody once told me this, in regards to, a mission, but they said, a mission's 100% for you, but it's 100% not about you, And going back to the service thing of that, in service, it's very easy to, first going into it, you're like, oh, why me? This sucks. I gotta go do that. I have other things to do, right? But in the process of it all, you kind of learn, man, here I am helping somebody else out, and it's helping me out, right?
Oh, yeah.
Something of your public works team, them being able to pour that out. I mean, for one, maybe later on they'll be able to come back with their kids and be, tell their kids hey, your dad helped build this, or your mom helped, design this.
Absolutely.
Right? And, it goes back to, having that pride in the city and what we're able to contribute here.
Well, it kind of let's go back to the story about my daughter jumping her bike on that ramp.
Yeah.
Right. I made her do the construction of the ramp. Of course, I was supervising, right?
Yeah.
But she cut all the wood, drove all the nails, and prepared for that. And then she put in the reps, not me, right? Well, like fast forward through life and compare that to Justin Anderson and Ed Bridge and Taylor Nielsen, right? And their whole team of people in my staff that are working on the Marshall White project. They're putting in the reps. They're exhausted doing it alongside a million other things that are on their plates at the city and throughout the community, right? But she was so proud of having put in all that work to make that jump, to build the jump and put in the reps and finally succeed. Just like I know that our team is going to be really proud of having put in all of the time and energy and effort. And same with our community members who supported the project along the way, that it's going to be so worth it. And that fatigue at the end is a good fatigue, right?
Yeah.
Like when you work out and your muscles are sore afterward, it's a good sore.
Yeah.
I hope that's what they feel. I hope that's what everybody feels when we're done.
Yeah. I mean, I think they will. I mean, I know for my personal experience, every time I've always had opportunities to look outside of my, realm, if you will. You just get stretched, as a human being. And you come back just better for it. And those are the moments that, I think hopefully all of us should live for, when we're able to serve somebody else and then you feel that sense of, wow.
Right. That's why selfless service to others is the most selfish thing you can do.
Yeah.
Right. And again, we talked about that last night in the church services, the servant cycle of when you give to others, 99.9% of the time they give back. Right.
Yeah.
The few exceptions that don't, you hardly even notice them because you're so focused on the abundance of those, and the abundance that you get back, right? So if you give energy to others, they're going to give you energy back. And if you give good energy to them, they'll give you good energy back. If you give bad energy to them, they're probably going to give you bad energy back, right? Yeah. So it's important that we focus on having the right kind of energy within ourselves so that we can attract and manifest abundance in the kind of energy that we want for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And when you do that, you connect with each other in a positive way, and then you have a positive day. And then the more we can do that, and the more connections, and the more days we can do it in a row, the stronger and the more strength we're all going to feel, right? And that's how you lift the spirit of people.
Yeah.
And I spent a ton of time trying to think about how do you scale that to the city scale, right?
Yeah.
To a community-wide scale. And I just try every day to be the kind of person that I know I want to be and that I can be, but I do feel like I'm surrounded by people that make me better too and that lift my spirit every day.
Yeah. Well, I think, I'm reminded of an experience when I was really young. So, I can't remember if it was a Boy Scout activity that I was for, but we were going to go make blankets for kids that were battling cancer. And I remember it was right before I had a soccer game. I think I was probably around maybe 10, 11 at the time. And so at that point in my life, I was just center focused on soccer. That's all I cared for, wanted. That was where my whole devotion was at. And I remember we went, and the timing was pretty close, like I said. And so because it was so close, I told my mom, if this runs into my time to getting ready for my soccer game, I'm going to be so mad, right? Being so selfish. But I remember my mom she's an amazing lady. I love her to pieces. And I'm just glad that she saw the moment and stepped up and gave me probably one of the moments that has impacted me so very much in terms of service. Right away, she pulled me aside, took me behind, just grabbed me, and she said, if you don't want to help, then leave. And here I am, my first thought, I don't have a car, But I look back at that moment so many times throughout my life, and I ask myself, if in order for me to serve and this person here is asking for my help, I need to give them the best that I can. And the best that I can is not moping around, be all right, man, here you go.
Worried about what comes next. where you would rather be, etc.
Yeah. And so that's what reminded me with your, like, having that energy, having that readiness, if you will, right? And I mean, many of us can call like so many instances in our lives where, we were having a day and somebody just stepped up, right?
Yeah.
And who knows what that person decided. I mean, did that person that morning decide, yeah, I'm going to go out and help somebody today, But I think if we did have that in the back of our minds, like, I'm going to leave today, and then if an opportunity presents itself, I'm going to be ready. And which is funny because that's like the DARE program, Like, I think the DARE program is great, the whole don't do drugs things, but I see it differently in the sense that I think at that young age, what I learned from the DARE program was just make the choice before the opportunity presents itself.
Yep.
Whether that be if you have a difficult time in your life, make the choice that whatever comes, you're gonna survive. That you're gonna do your best to thrive in it and learn from it. And I think you can apply that to service as well. Just asking and saying to yourself, okay, if an opportunity presents itself for me to help, I'm gonna take it. Because I think some of us lose that opportunity to serve in that split moment of deciding, like, oh, do I help them? Do I not? Oh, someone else might. Oh, am I really the one to help them?
Yeah.
But I'm not a huge believer in coincidences. I think things happen for the reason. And so if you can have that, I guess, in the back of your mind. Boom.
Not to keep going back to last night's church service, but I guess church is a good place to learn good lessons. I guess that's a lesson learned. But they told a story about a missionary that was, very service oriented. And I think he was in Arizona, was where he was serving. And they were driving home and they saw somebody pulled over on the side with a flat tire. And she was having a hard time, so they pulled over. It was on a really busy road. And one of the passengers said, no, don't do it. Don't do it. We got to keep going. And he said, no, I have to. We have to stop. We have to help.
Yeah.
Because this kid was just so service driven, right?
Yeah.
And they told that story because while he was changing the tire, a drunk driver hit him and killed him. And a lot of people said, if you hadn't stopped to help, and if you didn't feel like you always had to help everybody, you'd still be alive. But the dad said, he might be alive today, but it's that same drive to serve is what allowed him to truly live, right?
Yeah.
And so he may not be with us today and he may not be alive today, but while he was with us, he lived, and he truly lived the way that he believed. And it was the ultimate act of service that cost him his life, but it was also the ultimate act of service that really described his life, right?
Yeah.
It was a pretty powerful story that they told.
No, I think, yeah. I think about the men and women that will forever be etched in history, and I don't think any of them could be described as selfish in a sense. Right, like the people that I think get remembered are the people that constantly served, constantly did things for others, or gave us something that benefited others more than did them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think for every one of us, I think we all have that sense of desire to be like, I want to be remembered. I want to be known as somebody, right? I think that thought could go one of two ways, right? You could either take the road of kind of like breaking down and kind of frustrating yourself, by trying to figure out how can I do this and have it benefit me more than anyone else. And I don't think that ever really pans out very well. But I think for those that look outside themselves and figure out, okay, how can I plug myself in and just serve? I think those are the people that more often than not get remembered, at least in my history book, if you will.
Absolutely. But instead of thinking about your legacy or being remembered, I think if you think about your purpose and if you're driven by your why, and aligning the work that you do and the priorities that you have with your purpose, I think that's when you build a legacy that's worth remembering, right?
Yeah. I mean, think about what's going to say on that tombstone.
Aldin Falcon cut a lot of hair, improved a lot of lives, right?
Absolutely. You know,
Cut hair and built men.
hopefully something. I mean, I look at my life, and like I said, like I really believe that I'm here because of everyone else, right? Everyone took a chance on me, whether that be like my mom, you know, leaving Panama and coming here and giving me that opportunity. You know, I look at my good friend Gerald, who saw something in me, believed in me before I could believe in myself, and just called me out on it. You know, he told me straight up, like, hey, if you don't have a plan, you know, like, I'm going to go find myself a new barber. And that call to action sparked that, right?
Yeah.
And so hopefully, you know, what I'm hoping to do with my life, like I said, is for one, become a better father and be a better husband, but also just honor the other men and women's, you know, choices that they had on me, if you will. You know, trying to push their legacy or push their goodwills the same way they did with me, try and pay it back by helping somebody else in the future.
Sure. Yeah, when there's a lot of people that believe in you and support you, you feel a lot of pressure to not let them down, right?
Wait, say it again?
I feel that a lot.
Yeah.
You know, so you talk about your mom calling you out, and then your friend Gerald. It's the people that love us the most that are the most brutally honest,
Yeah.
right? And if we're not brutally honest, we're not here to just tell you what you want to hear. We have to make sure that we're here to tell each other what we need to hear. Sometimes you need to be shook, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, like Michael Jordan, he got cut from his high school team.
Yeah.
What would have happened if he wouldn't have gone? I mean, sure, he still would have been great, but I'm sure that lit something in him, you know, letting him know, like, hey, in order to be the best, I have to work to become the best, right? It can't just, you know, talent can only take you so far.
Yeah. I don't know about you. Michael Jordan's the GOAT.
He is.
Okay.
He is.
Sometimes the younger generation has other opinions, but Michael Jordan is the GOAT of all GOATs.
Yeah. I mean, all praise to LeBron, but it's just crazy the reach that Michael had. I remember being in my grandma's backyard with a Shaq's jersey. Okay. And I'm over here talking to my cousin, telling him, like, I'm going to dunk on you. And then he'd be like, oh, yeah? And I told him, like, I'm Michael Jordan. And he was like, oh, no. But just the reach, right?
Yeah.
You know, like the inspiration that he gave, you know, to kids, you know, and set that bar for us, right? Seeing what Michael did, now it gave us the bar to become, hey, if he did that, I could do that. And then surpass it, right? Now, the game has become more and more out of it. And I think same with our lives, right? Like our parents or our community can set the norm for what's our environment can be. And then we just hopefully surpass that.
Yeah, I have a tendency, and sometimes I'm criticized for it, but I think of everything through the lens of team. You know, I have family, but when I go to work, I think in the lens of team. When I'm in the community, I think about team. Because every one of us has a responsibility to contribute our best selves to benefit everyone else, right? Yeah. And you are only as good as those that you're surrounded by when you're operating and functioning as a team. And so as a community, we feel the same way, and as employees and as different groups of teams and as a team as a whole, if we're not individually leveling up and investing in ourselves and taking accountability for our own greatness, right? We're not contributing our best to the whole. And so I like to say that the Ogden Way starts with you and it ends with us. Because you have to bring your best self. And that's what Michael Jordan did. He was the GOAT, man. And he wasn't nice about it either.
No. Which I think is great. I mean, in many ways, it's kind of what you're doing with the city, right? Is calling people to action. You know, like how Michael did. If somebody missed a bucket that they should have been able to make, hey, like he called them to accountability, right? Called them to that. that time, like, hey, you need to do that, right? Or what do we need to do? But I don't know Michael's personal life like that, but at least from the small footages that I've seen in documentaries, one thing that I loved about him is that he involved himself in the solution. I think sometimes when we come and not say criticize, but try and help somebody else, we just leave them like more broken than more built up. So we come in and be like, hey, you suck, you need to do this better, blah, 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 blah. But I think the approach should be, hey, like, I saw these things. Do you mind if I help you? And then if they say yes, great. And they're like, all right, this is how I think we could go about it. What do you think? And then plug yourself in the solution, right? Don't be another issue to that person. Don't be another problem by being like, hey,
Yeah. Just being another critic, right?
Yeah.
That was the thing about Jordan, is he had a high standard. He was unapologetic about it, and he demanded it of others, which he was in the position to do. But the rest of us, we have to inspire others to share the vision, share the standard, right? Yeah. I read something over the weekend. I had a really harsh criticism last week, super personal, very hurtful, based on a lot of assumptions, maybe even based more on where he was at versus where I'm at. But it was so harsh that it made me think that if you have a problem with me, and this is what I read, if you have a problem with me, call me. But if you don't have my number, you're not close enough to me to have that criticism of me. You don't know me well enough to criticize me like that. When you don't even have not only the willingness to call me, but you don't even have my number, how could you possibly think you know me and think that you can say those kinds of things and be accurate and be right? You don't know shit, right?
Yeah.
I think that we as people have way too much tendency, and we're way too willing and fast to judge. We don't take the time to understand each other. We don't take the time to reflect on our own circumstances and where we are at before we dump it on others. And it is really detrimental to people, to cities, to communities, to our country. And if we can give each other more grace, we're going to give a lot more greatness to each other.
Yeah. Sorry I got that review.
What's that?
Yeah, it's so bad that you got that review.
Happens a lot, actually. There's always people out there chipping on the mayor, right?
Yeah.
That's just the job. So you got to have a sense of self-confidence to just overcome it. But every now and again, a bomb is lobbed at you that is so painful and personal that, not that I'm the victim, but I am human, right?
Yeah.
And if I don't feel things, I'm not going to be a good mayor. But you do have to process it, and you got to move on, and you got to focus on what's right. And I just don't think treating people like that is right, whether, it's the mayor or anybody else.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Such is life, though, right?
Yeah. That is true. But, I'm definitely taking that away. So I think in my personal life, sometimes, nobody's perfect, like you're saying, right? We're all human beings, and yeah, people always, I don't know what it is, yeah. Like, some people really do want to cut down the tree that's trying to grow, or trying to do something for no reason.
Yeah. I think I'm often stuck. So when you're the mayor, you have all of these voices, right? And opinions. Like countless people that are impacted by your decisions, and you're trying to hear and understand what's the best route. And you feel conflicted between opinions, but I'm really starting to see that you're conflicted between mindsets a lot. And I'm often conflicted between people that really want to level up and grow, and they want to accelerate and be better and get better and drive their business into another level of success, etc., versus some that don't. And there's different opinions about where they want to go as people, right? And as business owners or as community members. And that is the more fundamental thing that reflects back in the opinion at the end that's coming to me. But I always want to choose a path that helps Ogden and helps Ogden's people step into their greatness. And if others don't want to step into their greatness, that's kind of an individual thing. That's why the Ogden Way starts with you and ends with us. I got to be thinking about us, and I have to hear the voice of you individually in order to make that choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a pretty interesting job.
Yeah. I mean, the podcast alone, I think, shows that, right? Like, shout out to Jody Brown. She inspired me. I speak about her so much. Like, I don't know the lady. Hopefully I meet you one day.
Powerhouse.
I will. But, yeah, I mean, whether or not it was the message that she wanted to come across, I took it as just treat every interaction like it's a life-saving one for them. And it's just incredible. Incredible. You know, like how my interactions have changed with people. And hopefully, I mean, the impact can hopefully show in their life, you know, whether it be now or years down the road.
You know, that episode, Jody Brown, is the one that the most people mentioned to me.
Yeah.
She's been the most impactful and most powerful interview from the people that I've heard from.
Yeah. I mean, it was raw. Like, it was so honest, so straightforward. She was incredible.
Yeah, she's the kind of person I want to be in the lives of my daughters.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's people like that make, you know, like, are almost foundational to the community, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Talk about struggle, talk about grind, right? Talk about grit. Jeez, she went through so much. She's right here in Ogden, too. There's stories like that all over town, Aldin. Like, there's so many incredible people here that have such incredible stories and journeys.
Yeah.
The things that they've overcome in order to be who they are. That's the strength of Ogden, right? Mm-hmm. Man, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about her story right now.
Yeah. No, and I'm glad she shared that, right? Like, I think sometimes people will experience things in life and just hold it. But there's so much benefit to be had, you know, when we get to share these moments or share those experiences. And because I found it for myself, like, sometimes, like, I've gone into, like, you know, church and everything, and I'm just like, man, I'm the only one going through this right now. And sure enough, somebody shares something, and I'm like, whoa. Somebody down the street from me is having similar things, if not worse, right?
There's always somebody going through something worse, something harder.
Yeah. And I think about, you know, like, what would have happened if that person would have not shared? Like, you know, who knows what my despair could have turned into, right? But I'm glad they did, because then it kind of gave me a little bit of hope. Like, hey, so is going through something similar, and they're putting a smile on their face. I can too. You know, I can do something.
You know, America is suffering from a crisis of comfort. You ever heard that before?
No.
This crisis that we're all in pursuit and seeking comfort all the time.
Yeah.
And we've lost the drive to seek discomfort, which is where growth is.
Yeah.
It's kind of counterintuitive for human nature. I think there's a primal instinct to find comfort, find safety, right? But if you're focused on discomfort, then you're focused on growth.
Yeah.
So if you feel a sense of discomfort, it's an opportunity to grow. Instead of seeing it as, ouch, woe is me, if you train yourself and your mindset to say, that hurts, that's uncomfortable, and then you're like, wait, that's an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to grind. That criticism I got last week, I'll admit it affected me.
Yeah.
And I noticed that it was affecting the people around me.
Yeah.
That my staff was picking up on my energy, and that I had to change it. And I closed my door in my office, and I got on my knees and I prayed. And then I got to work on a solution. And I always feel better when I have a solution, right? But it's so easy to to take the easy way, to find comfort, right? But the comfort was in the solution for me. The comfort was in the prayer. The comfort was in the challenge to myself to say, I can't do this to the people around me. I can't do it to myself. Again, the Ogden Way starts with you, but I can't do it to the people around me. Because the Ogden Way starts with you, but it ends with us. And in that moment, it was about us. It's about our team. It's about the 9th floor. And my energy was screwing up the 9th floor's energy. And when you mess up the energy on the 9th floor of the city building, you're messing up the leadership energy of the city.
Yeah.
And I knew I was struggling. And I had to overcome it. How could they overcome it if I don't overcome it first, right?
Right. My only question to you on that is, I mean, obviously this is a personal question to you, but like, I think sometimes, you know, people want to like solve that on their own. When is it the time to then go and ask for help?
I don't think there's ever any shame for asking for help.
Yeah.
You just can't always count on having help. Man, if I had $1 for every time somebody blamed me for their life circumstances, I just can't help but think, if you're blaming me for your failures, that means that I'm the only person that can achieve your success too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, I shouldn't be a mayor that makes it harder for people to succeed in this city. I should be the kind of mayor that breaks down barriers so that they can earn their own success, right?
Yeah.
But no matter who the mayor is or who the president is or who anybody is, it only comes down to who you are. First and foremost, fundamentally. It starts with you, and then I hope in everything it ends with us, but we have to take accountability over our own success. Our success is ours.
Yeah.
Our failures are ours, right?
Yeah.
If average isn't the enemy for you, how is average going to be the enemy for us?
Mm-hmm. Oh, well said. I think one of the quotes that I wrote a while back is, because I guess in preparation for this, I was just kind of thinking about like, what can I share if that's makes sense. But the one thing that I kept talking to my wife about was, one of the things that I wrote a while back was, you know, let the walls around you, you know, define you, not confine you.
Yeah.
I don't think the experiences I've gone through in my life are any more unique than others. I think others have gone through worse, you know, but I allow them to make me better at the end of the day, you know, to the point that hopefully I can share something, whether that be, you know, sharing in someone's, you know, despair, just saying like, hey, you know, I've been through what you're going through, but I can definitely empathize on that feeling of sadness. You know, I felt sadness in my life, you know. You're obviously feeling something right now. But
I'm not right now.
No, not right now, but
I did for a minute.
Yeah. And so, sorry, one sec. And so for me, like, I think it's important to go with that mindset. You know, kind of like how Jody says, you know, to every conversation, you know, that you're gonna help, and that we all really need something, right? We're all needing help at all given points. And it's something still to me, like now that I struggle when it comes to asking help, because sometimes I feel like I just want to get done quick, right? But that's not always the case for everything. Sometimes it's important for things to kind of stew a little bit, and my wife told me this once. She's like, think about your life and think about how many people took the chance on you, in the sense of they could have done it without you, but they saw you and said, this person needs that opportunity. This person needs that time to help me. And because I got help with a lot of the things that I've done in the building, and all those individuals could have very easily done it by themselves. But they saw the opportunity, the need that I had, you know, to learn and grow, and they gave me the opportunity. It took way longer,
Way longer.
but now they've given me more than I could have asked for. Way more.
We're going way over on time. I just need to cut this up to make it fit. But
Yeah.
I think this is just kind of the typical experience of getting a cut, right?
I know. I've been pretending to cut your hair for the last 30 minutes.
Well, I appreciate you taking time to do this with me.
Of course. I think hopefully for everyone watching this, if you don't have a barber or hairstylist, just somebody that you can go to talk to, find somebody. I think it's so beneficial for all generations. For young ones, I think it's great. It helps you guys learn some social skills to talk to another adult. I think most barbers are eager and willing to talk to the person who's in their chair, because without individuals, we have no job.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you can find that person, and hopefully they not only give you the haircut that you're looking for, but at the same time, they give you the experience that you deserve as a human being.
Well, if you don't have a barber, come to Ogden Barber Company. See Aldin. See Justice. See anybody here, you're going to be in good hands. But there's a lot of good barbers here too. Yeah. If you go to Empire, or to Sin, or to Moore's, or go see Joe up on the north end, like no matter where you go, you're going to find good people. You'll find good service. Just find a connection. Find somebody that you want to support and be loyal to them. They'll be loyal back to you. I know it. And that's the thing I love about the barber culture. You guys have an absolute abundance mentality. You support each other. You pull for each other. You want to make sure that others succeed. It's not a competitive environment. Although I think you're competitive by nature because you want to succeed, but I don't think you compete at the cost of the others. You compete by raising the bar, raising the level, right?
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Well, thanks for having me, man.
Of course.
See you again in a couple weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 weeks, every 2 weeks. Can't forget it.
All right. Well, I think we end every episode with a call to action, and I think I just said it. If you don't already have a barber, if you don't already have, a hairstylist, go find one. Go connect. Go find someone to be loyal to, whether it's cutting your hair or any other service in this city. Find someone that's stepping up and stepping out, that's leveling up and doing the work to be their best, and support them in their journey. Help them in their business. Be the kind of person that supports them and is there for them. And I promise you, they're going to be the same for you. That's how the world works. When you serve others selflessly, that's the most selfish thing that you can do. They will return it back. And that's why we talk about the servant cycle. Serve others selflessly, and I promise you that they'll serve you selflessly back. And that's the call to action today. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Aldin, for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We didn't really have a topic that we focused on, and that was kind of the point. You come to places, you build connection, you build relationships, and in so doing, you build yourself. And when we do it collectively and scale it, we build community. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on the Ogden Way podcast. I'm Ogden City Mayor Ben Nadolski. This is Aldin Falcon. Get some.
To get some. Right.